Good afternoon, YouTube. I've got the front tire off my cross bike here. This is the rear tire. So this is the tire I patched earlier this summer that had the puncture. So I run these tires tubeless. They're the Schwalbe Marathon Mondial tires, 700 by 40C. This tire had a puncture in it about 3 years ago, and at that time the tire was on the back of the bike. So I took this one off, put this tire on. It was brand new 3 years ago. It now has about 4,000 miles on it. In light of trying to prolong the life of these tires, I need to move this tire to the front of the bike because it's starting to get pretty well worn down. Trails that I ride up here in the summer get very abrasive on these tires. They're kind of a combination of gravel and sand and silt, a really fine powder that builds up on the surface of the trails, probably 3 or 4 inches deep, and it just grinds away the tread, and then you also slip a lot when you're going uphill. So this tire's pretty well ready to go to the front. On the front, it's not going to wear very much, and I'll probably get another 3 or 4 years out of this. So normally I would put a brand new tire on the back, but this tire actually has better tread, so I'm thinking I will just swap these two tires, front and rear, and I can probably get another year out of this before either the tread wears out or the rubber starts cracking due to age. Because next spring this tire will be 8 years old. That seems to be about where the rubber starts drying out and cracking. So this tire was on the bike when I first built it in 2012. It was on the front of the bike for 2,500 miles, and then when I converted to tubeless I moved it to the rear, and then it had about another 3,000 miles in back. And then since I patched it this summer, it has another 500 miles in the front. So this tire has 6,000 miles. This one has 4,000, and you can see how the tread wear on this one is much less, and that's partly due to 3,000 in back versus 4,000. But it's also, when I first started riding this bike, I was doing more flat riding on the various bike trails down in the valley floor, and then when I was doing the hills I would go up the hill on pavement and then I'd come down the hill on the dirt. But the last 3 or 4 years I've been riding more uphill on the dirt and then downhill on the dirt, and going uphill in this loose sand and gravel mix really chews up the tires. So yeah, anyway, what I need to do is let the air out of both of these. We will take this one and this one off and then flip them around, mount them back up, add some sealant, and see if we can get these to seal up, and then take them out on a ride in the morning. Okay, I got the front tire off, and yeah, the patch I put on there is holding up perfectly well. So I didn't know how the patch and the glue would stand up to the sealant, but it doesn't look like any real problems. And I was pretty well dried out on the sealant. That's the other thing I was kind of waiting for. I wanted to make sure that I didn't have too much sealant sloshing around inside here. So it's pretty well dried up. Just get this valve core out. I think I might want to change valve cores. They're getting a little bit sticky. Yeah, this one's the same. You get a little bit of buildup in here. Okay, so we're getting the rear tire off here, and I think this tire I've only run orange seal in it. It's really amazing. The whole inner surface of the tire was basically just covered with a layer of rubber here. Look at that. And it's just pulled off totally clean. Just a little bit left. You know, I'm trying to get the bead cleaned off, but I mean the rubber is just like brand new inside, and the whole inside of the tire was covered like that. The front tire wasn't quite the same because it had some of the dried stands sealant in it. Yeah, so that's about 3 years worth of orange seal residue out of the back tire. A little bit out of the front, but I'd only run one measure of orange seal in the front tire, and it was all cleaned out this summer. But that's out of the back tire. There's There's a fistful of that stuff. And it cleans up really well. So you just take your rag and kind of pinch it on each side of the bead and then just pull it along. Crumbs of rubber just fall off of there. This one doesn't have any excessive buildup anywhere. Doesn't look like there were any places that it was leaking at all. So yeah, I think we're ready to mount this one up. So then I just run the same rag over the bead, remove most of the residue, and go around. You just have to catch your thumbnail here in the corners and make sure you get that bead seat all cleared out. These are directional trads. I think that's right. We've got the V's, or the points, going forward and the disc on that side. Yeah, so there we got one side over. We'll start here at the valve stem. Once these have been mounted, they usually go on pretty easy. Let's get it knocked down around the rest of the way. Yeah, there we go. I think we're there. Get that last bit in there. No tools required. Okay, let's get some sealant in. This thing popped right on, and I didn't hear any air leaking out, even with no sealant in it. It was holding 40 psi. So this is the front tire here. I just pumped this one up after adding the sealant. Got a little bit of leaking, and this is the front tire moved to the back, and it was leaking pretty good when I first pumped it up, but in about half an hour it's pretty well set up. Not much on that side either. Got a little bit of sidewall leaking here. Since this one is the one I stripped all the rubber out of the inside of it, it's probably lost all its sealing, but yeah, there's that side. Let these sit overnight and they should be good to go in the morning. That's another tubeless lesson I've learned, is if you take one of these off, clean it out while it's fresh. Don't let it dry. Because, for example, here's the old cracked tire that I took off, and this one I didn't clean up, but you can see, you know, once that rubber dries, it just tears into little pieces, and it's very time consuming to clean up because it's dry rubber at that point, and it just pulls apart, so you have thousands of little pieces to get off, versus if it's fresh, you take off that much at a time. This one has to get tossed out, and probably next year that one will join it. Finally be able to put a new tire on the back, and then I won't have to touch the front tire now for maybe 4 years. Just leave this one up front, add a little sealant every once in a while, and we should be good to go. So yeah, I'll show you what these look like in the morning, and we'll see if they've sealed up.